Thanks for coming, man.
Thanks, bro.
It's a special. I've been hunting you down for a while. I know you're a busy man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. What have you been up to, man? Tell me what you've been up to. I know you went on we spoke about it previously, your trip to Sri Lanka, and
Yeah.
we'll get into what you do. But how was that?
Oh, it was amazing. So yeah, I recently got back from a 3-month trip overseas. So I went to Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and then China. And I took it as a chance to upskill in my creative endeavors, in my pursuit of learning and just expanding my own skill set. And
just for those who don't know, like what is it that you do? Like I've got to experience it. We'll get to that later. But
so my main forte, I guess, is teaching Qi Gong, and I've been teaching for I think just over 4 years now. And I've developed my own style of class, which since creating that has really skyrocketed the results I've had myself personally, but also in all my students as well. Yeah.
And what got you started on it?
So I could always feel, I guess, chi or energy in my hands. I thought this was normal. I thought, I thought, oh, the way I think, everyone thinks like this. The way I react, everyone I thought it was the same. And one day I was at a party playing with the energy, and I was moving, and I was like, oh, this is cool. There's a lot of chi in the room, a lot of energy, good vibes. Yeah. And a friend of mine was like, oh, you're doing Tai Chi. And I was like, what's Tai Chi? I've never heard of this. And she said, "Oh, you should look it up." And I was like, "I'm just playing with energy."
But did you have? Did you know the name, like Qi?
I had no idea.
So at that time, did you be like, I can feel all this Qi, feel all this energy, or you just said I could feel something?
Yeah,
like energy?
For me, it was just energy.
Yeah, okay. So you didn't know the actual term or anything at that point. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. It's crazy. I didn't even know about this.
And so I researched. I'm like, okay, what is Tai Chi? And I was like, oh, this is cool. I've seen this in cartoons, like people doing this, cultivation and stuff. And I've seen people do it in the parks. But Tai Chi didn't really resonate. So I came across Qi Gong, and Qi Gong actually serves as the foundation of Tai Chi. And essentially, it's a movement practice that combines deep, intentional breath work. And it's used to enhance the energy in the body because we use air for energy. When we breathe more air, we increase our oxygen content and our energy content. It's been around for thousands of years in China, so I was like, all right, this is cool, let's explore this. I was open to the idea, and I bought a book on it, and it was called Qi Gong Through the Seasons. So it had a different practice for each season, and I did it each season, every single day for almost about a year. And I remember after the year mark feeling it, and I was like, whoa, something's changing in me. And then from there, it just continued to grow and expand. It was like, I just felt like I couldn't get tired. I had a lot of clarity of mind. And I remember these 2 back-to-back days. I went to the gym, and it was about the 1 year mark. And I remember going to the gym and training. I trained for an hour, and I was like, I don't feel tired. I didn't work out hard enough. Let me do another session. I did 3 hours back-to-back, different sessions. And then I just walked away from the gym. I was like, okay, this is really weird. Maybe this is just like a one-off thing. I just brushed it off. Yeah. And then went to the gym the next day, same thing happened. This time I did 4 hours. And then after that, I stopped doing Qi Gong. I was like, okay, something's happening. I don't know what's going on. I had just this feeling of like limitless energy. And it was like really cool, but really scary at the same time because I didn't know why I wasn't getting tired. And then slowly I got back into the practice because I missed it because I really enjoyed doing it. And then I remember showing a friend of mine. I was like, we were at a festival and people were doing yoga and stuff. We were chilling out. Everyone was tired. We were just sitting in a circle, and I was like, oh, I really feel like doing it. Like I haven't done it like these past few days. And I was like, hey guys, I've been doing this thing, like just following a book. Do you guys want to do it? It's called Qi Gong, and some of them had heard it before.
So you basically self-taught yourself, at least the foundations and the fundamentals. You self-taught yourself from a book, right?
Like, just crazy, just from a book. And then I taught my friends. And then everyone was like, what is this? Like, you should teach this some more. I was like, really? And they're like, yeah. So I was like, all right. So I just started to teach what I learned in the book. Like, I didn't know any different. And it was just to a small group of friends at first, like a community group. And it just started to grow. Like, more and more people were like, oh, can you teach more? Can you teach another class? Can you teach another class? I was like, yeah, okay. And this was about halfway through my PT and remedial massage career. So I've been doing it for about 8 years now.
So that's what I was going to say. So prior to all of this, you were working in that industry, was it personal training?
Personal training and
that's kind of what you were doing full time, kind of.
Yeah. So I was actually at uni as well.
Gotcha.
So I went to uni. I did 3 years full time, 2 years part time.
What were you doing at uni?
So I started off in a Bachelor of Health Science,
Yeah.
and then I moved into a Bachelor of Science, going to Master in Nutrition and Dietetics, because all I wanted was nutrition.
Yeah,
I had PT, I had massage, I thought, I just need nutrition, I got the trifecta.
Yeah. But that's the kind of the world you're heading to anyway. You always had
Originally,
yeah.
So
go on.
I was going down that path, and then I was like, there's something about uni, just like I hate like the Bachelor. Like all I wanted to do was the Masters, but I had to go through the Bachelor first. And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like it's like 2 hours on the bus to uni every day, and I was falling asleep in lectures. I was just like, I don't know. And then I was thinking, I'm already doing PT and massage like while I'm at uni, and I'm loving that. Why don't I just do that? Like I'm making money. Like people on Instagram were like selling nutrition plans, and they just had really aesthetic bodies. I was like, they don't have a nutrition degree. So I ended up leaving my degree with 6 units left. I finished. My parents weren't that happy. But I said something inside is just telling me like just pursue what I already have under my belt. And with all that knowledge of already doing PT and massage for a few years, I noticed when I was teaching the traditional style of Qi Gong, it was beneficial for people. People were getting results. But thousands of years ago, when Qi Gong was created, there was no 9-to-5 work life. There were no cars, there were no chairs, and long amounts of seated positions. And so I thought, maybe I'm just going to adjust these movements just a little bit, incorporate a little bit more legs, maybe a little bit more deep breathing. And I started to teach a new style of Qigong, style that I call Qi Fit, a little bit of like a modernized version of the traditional style. And then people started to get really good results. The areas that people were experiencing issues in, like tight hips, weak lower back, weak core, weak glutes, it all started to change. And I was watching it unfold before my eyes. I was like, wow, this is really cool.
Because all that time, it's always just been your experience. Now you get to share everyone else's.
And it really resonated home with me. And I was just like, all right, like I'm gonna keep pursuing this path. Like it was kind of like I couldn't really see where this was heading, but I just had this feeling like just keep doing it and see what comes next. And then I was teaching this style for almost 2 years, and then I started to think I want to expand my practice of Qigong. I think I'll go to China, the birthplace of Shaolin Kung Fu and Qigong, originating there, and just use that as inspiration to develop and expand my practice. And then I ended up going there just recently, and I remember the first week, every day I asked the monks, can you teach me Qigong? They said, yeah, go over there. And so I'd go over there, I'd wait, and then class would start. And
you're like that typical Hollywood movie, you go to China, it's always that kid, trying to push you away, but they know he's the most eager one,
I think so. They were very adamant about like me waiting. And they pushed me to the side. They said, one sec. And then class would start, and I'm like, I don't want to wait. Like, I got to train with the rest of the students. So I ended up just training. Every day I was asking, morning training, afternoon training. Teach me Qigong. Like, yeah. And it didn't happen. So I started to get a little bit frustrated. By the end of the first week, I actually injured myself because Shaolin Kung Fu is a little bit right side dominant. So we had to kick off the right leg, jump with the right leg, land on the right leg. So my right leg ended up straining my groin. And then came back to training in the second week, and I'm like, I can't do much. My groin's like injured. Can you teach me Qigong? And they're like, just do your own Qigong. And then I was like, because they asked me about my background, like, if I had any experience with it.
So they'd never seen you in that whole trip actually do it. They just knew that you had a background in it.
Because when I asked them, they asked me, have you ever done it before? Have you done Kung Fu before, all this stuff? And I said, I've done it for Kung Fu for a year and stuff. But I've been doing Qigong for a while. I want to learn, traditional. And so they just said, just do your own Qigong. And I got really frustrated because I came here to learn, and they're just telling me to do my own thing. So in between the training sessions, I ended up just creating my own flow and actually developed a new sequence, the one that I'm teaching now, the spring sequence, Aviera sequence for Qigong. And it clicked in my head. The whole time, I had all of the movements, all the sequences within me. I didn't need to learn someone else's movements because just like the first series that I created, it all came from within.
And so all those sequences, the ones that you create, they're basically are there fundamentals that you put together and you work out your own way of doing
Yeah,
it? But
yeah.
they're fundamentals that everyone has. It's just everyone has their own varied way or variety. Yeah, that's
So
crazy. Yeah.
I use main principles in my classes to incorporate as many, if not
Yeah.
all, planes of movement in the body,
Yeah.
so that the entire class accesses all dimensions. You know, up, down, left, right, rotation, twists, things like that, and balancing. You know, we balance a lot. When we train in the gym, if you're going to do weights, you need to balance that out with stretching and things like that. So as much upper body work as there is lower body work, and of course combining it with a lot of deep breathing.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And how's that kind of affected everything else now in your life? Like in terms of obviously, you talk about your stage in you being in uni and stuff, and like how's that affected everything else outside of just you teaching Qigong and if you can go even further, some of the even just some of the feedback you get from people that do it, that would be interesting. I'm sure everyone has their own different feedback, but I'm interested to see what other people have told you as well.
So the way uni affected me, for a long time I had the idea that if I don't have this piece of paper, I'm not gonna make it, or I'm not gonna be successful and things like that. But this intuitive nudge deep within me has always been stronger than these opinions or these criticisms, and it feels worse not listening to that feeling than to listen to the opinions of others. So I've just kind of trusted the process, and it hasn't always been easy. Maybe down the track I'll go back and finish it, but at the moment what I'm doing right now, it feels like I'm in the flow. It feels in alignment. In terms of the feedback that I've had from people, pretty much every single person from the first class notices a difference. They notice their depth of breathing, how they're breathing, by default throughout the day, and then the difference from just doing one class and realizing, wow, I'm not breathing deep enough, and I didn't know I can move my body in these ways. The really cool thing about breathing is that it's a conscious and a subconscious action. So we can control it, and when we're not thinking about it, it just does it automatically. But when we consciously control it, we bridge the conscious-subconscious gap in the mind, and then we strengthen that connection when we combine it with movements. So we're creating a really strong mind-body connection through breath work, and then people start to feel their bodies, get really deep into their bodies. And I really believe that when you can create a strong mind-body connection and you can feel your own body, how it moves, how it's going throughout the day, you can also feel when you're in alignment and when you're out of alignment. You can actually listen to the nudge of your soul pursuing in the direction of your dreams. And I feel that's really important, especially moving forward in today's world where a lot of things are changing. A lot of people are kind of waking up.
There's a whole new culture on that.
I know, right? Like, are you woke?
You woke. It's like a badge of honor.
I know.
But it's crazy. I just feel like you just mentioning that it's like a term that's been given to something that's always existed. It's just now there's a word for it, and now it's like almost like now there's a word, and what that means. It's like now there's meaning to something that you always have felt. But man, going back to Qi Gong, like the reason I asked what everyone else is experiencing, even when is because I've done it. Obviously, I've done it, and I remember. I think it was after the first time, and obviously Rick, a mutual friend, brought me there, and I just remember opening my eyes at the end of it, and I just looked at him and smiled, and there was a sense of confidence, this sense of I know who I am. And it was funny because since then I've explained it to a few people, and I've been pushing, obviously, it's something that eventually I want to do more regularly, but I want other people to jump on board as well. That whole experience, like even just the breathing, like I had, you always have a sense of understanding for it, but that broadened my understanding, like knowing, like there were moments at work, if things got a bit anxious, I walked away and I did what you taught, like, with the breathing, and I'd lower my heart rate and I'd be fine. Like, and that was crazy to me. I'm like, holy shit. That's like, so what I mean? And when you do it yourself, you can feel it yourself, and then even going into that when I went into that boxing fight, that's the first time I'd done something along those lines, even in terms of, competing and seeing how I compete. And I remember in between rounds, I remember telling myself before walking out, right? In
Using
between
those
rounds,
principles.
just using those principles, and
Yeah,
in between rounds, I sat down and man, I felt my heart rate lowering down all through my breathing because I was just confident with what I was doing. I never told, I mean, I know I thanked you and stuff, but not to depth of telling you like what it was like. And ever since then, like any moment, anything that I feel like it's off, or you know, there's moments where whatever it is, man, I just literally take a couple of deep breaths and just kind of, you know, and before you know it, man, it's gone. And it sounds crazy when you're saying it, but it's really not. When you do it, it's like you can't put words to it. You just got to do it, you know? But I just remember the whole, like, you know, the craziest bit of it all was when we were just meditating at the end, and then, you know, you play the didgeridoo for people who don't know. And man,
take people in a sound.
At that moment, it's like sayonara, like, you know, take me, you know, like, next to next to me, And it was just, and that's why I was like, I used to kind of tell people, man, you think you're relaxed till you realize there's so many levels of being relaxed, you know, and that's what it taught me. It's like, man, all this time that I thought, you know, not so much who I was, but even just certain things, it was just, there was confidence, certainty, and it's like, almost like you smelled the roses, you're like, man, I'm doing all right, you know what I mean? I'm all right, like I know where I'm going, I know, you know? It's funny, like, just a matter of that whole sequence or that whole hour or 45 minutes or whatever it is, you could go from feeling like you've had a long day, a shit day, to being like, man, I'm about to conquer fucking everything. And that's honestly how I felt. Like, when I got off the first, I was like, man, I'm just gonna conquer like, you know, just, there was just a sense of confidence, you know, like, and man, and it's just, you realize how many things are irrelevant, and that's kind of what I took away from that journey so far into what I'm doing now, is just there's so many things that are irrelevant that seem relevant because you make it. But when you have that clarity and you have that time and space to just kind of have me time and go through, like, you know, just go through the breathing and the stretching, and just really just allowing your, man, like the word I use is that I felt like I was levitating on life.
Oh, bro. That's
like
amazing.
I felt like I was levitating on life, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I felt. And it was just, it's addiction, man. It was just, but it's an addiction in the sense that it's like, that's how good you can feel. And that's all just done through your breathing. Releasing pressure from your own body, and it's all self-controlled. And one of the biggest lessons I got away from that too was that a lot of the issues, a lot of the things that you worry about, it's not out there, it's in here. And when you're confident with what's in here, everything else is just a projection of how you feel inside. Like, where you would know the steps you need to take, or you would find things that you're interested in, or you've always known you're interested in, you know? That's what it was. A lot of the things, when I was asking you, like, you were always kind of in that path, like, even if it wasn't Qi Gong, it was like nutrition or health, you know, whatever it is, right? And like, somehow you find your, you know, you kind of off branched and gone into something that kind of, I believe, falls in the same as a whole, you know? And but that's the thing, like, a lot of the things, the interest and things you felt strong about, you realize, man, you do feel very strong about it. It's not just a phase or something that comes in and out, but when you're at that state of mind where you're just calm, collected, and pure of thought and understanding it, you know, man, it was crazy. Like, it really changed my life. Like, it really changed the way I thought, man. That's why I was interested to see what other people said, and I was just interested to ask your journey and why you did it, because we never got to have those conversations about why you got into it or whatever, you know? So it's very similar, man. Like, it's very similar how I found it as to how you found it and started teaching it. You know what I mean? That feeling, So, but you also do, like, I've noticed, I didn't know this, but you do like fire shows and stuff as well, right? So where did that come about?
So on my journey, it's a cool story, or I think it's cool anyway, sort of. So I was always interested in like health and performance growing up, and ended up doing a lot of different sports. And I was looking for, like, what was that one sport that's gonna, you know, get me to the top? And I found gymnastics. I did that all through high school, and that was really cool. And then after finishing high school, I ended up doing my PT degree, which ended up leading me towards training in powerlifting. One of the coaches there, his name was Sebastian Oro. He was the Cert 4 teacher at the time for the prac course, and he noticed me in my in the prac elements really doing well, you know, blitzing the class. And he said, "Oh, you're quite strong. You know, what sport do you do?" I said, "Gymnastics." Like, "Oh, I should do powerlifting." And then, long story short, I ended up winning the world championships as a junior in the sport of powerlifting.
Nice.
In 2014.
So was that in Australia? Was that held in Australia?
Yeah, it was held in Australia. So Sydney 2014 GPA World Championships. Trained my ass off for that competition. You know, I sacrificed a lot. And at the end of that competition, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, oh man, like I didn't expect to win. And I was like, had all this, you know, feeling of accomplishment and fulfillment.
Such a high,
satisfaction. But then I was like, what do I do with my life now? Like that was my whole identity. And so I had a little bit of like identity loss. And ended up, you know, celebrating. My friends were like, you know, you need to take a break, just, you know, have some fun. And I ended up celebrating, and then I just kept celebrating. I kept celebrating. I stopped training. I just kept celebrating some more. And on my path of, you know, just partying and, you know, celebrating, I ended up going to festivals. And one of the festivals I went to was actually the first festival called Subsonic. And I saw a good friend of mine, James Ward Collins, doing fire dancing. And I was like, wow. I was mesmerized. I saw him doing it. I was like, bro, this is the coolest thing ever. Like this is amazing. And he said, do you want to go? And he gave me his prop, his staff to spin, and I started spinning it, and I was like, I had never had this feeling before of being able to not literally manipulate fire, but almost manipulate fire and move and just flow in such a way. And it really inspired me. It flicked a switch of inspiration within me of change, and I was like, I want to pursue, you know, this. Like this was such a unique creative outlet I'd never seen before. And then he ended up teaching me, and so he taught me fire spinning and side by side, and he actually was running the creative platform Status Flow, where I began teaching Qi Gong, and now we perform side by side together. So it just grew from there, where I had this avenue to express myself, you know, through flow arts, through fire arts, and it's such a powerful, mesmerizing feeling to be in the flow and in the zone. Like you've heard of athletes being in the zone. You can be in this flow state, you know, when you're spinning fire and, you know, kind of dancing with the elements. And it's just grown from there. It's a really nice thing to do on a Friday, Saturday night. You know?
But it's funny how you can force a passionate. There's so much variety. You know, that's something like I would not a lot of people would even think about. In terms, not even just career, but think I would love it that much that I would want to learn and teach it, and, you know, actually do it for a living. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. But what was like so when you went going back to the trip to Sri Lanka? So you went there on a yoga.
To finish my
teach
tour.
yoga, or
for my own training.
For your own training. Gotcha. Okay.
So prior to
people from all around the world kind of came there.
So prior to doing that, I had done my 50-hour yin yoga training. So it's a particular branch of the yoga styles. But I had been meaning to do my 200 hours. This is kind of like the prerequisite for if you want to teach in studios, you need, you know, minimum 200 hours. And I'd always been saying, I want to do it this year, The last 3 years I was saying that, and it just didn't happen. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it this year. So I booked it for Bali. And I had a handstand retreat booked after Bali as well, and I was like, oh cool, I'll be in there for the yoga, and then I'll do handstand after, and then I'll go to China. Then I got an email saying that they were teaching in Sri Lanka, and I thought to myself, oh, if I'm already in Bali, why not add another country? So I ended up doing it in Sri Lanka, and it was amazing, really nice experience. Such a nice way to experience yoga in a different environment, very kind of like an immersive experience. Doing it every day.
So was it at a retreat kind of thing?
It was at a retreat.
Right. So it would have been a pretty cool environment. And
we had this beach shala, so it was with Santosha Yoga, and we had this beach shala literally like 10 meters from the beach, and every morning 6 a.m. we'd be doing yoga, and the practice would go for like 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours, and we just start our day like that, and then we moved into the theory. The food there was amazing, like the best fruit and vegetables I've ever had, and it was just like, it's kind of like paradise. Like you're in this retreat, but you're learning at the same time. It was like holidaying, vacation, learning, expanding. And it just really felt fulfilling to pursue that path. And also to explore more about the concept of yoga, because before doing my teacher training, I had this idea of yoga just being this physical practice that you do in a gym. You just stretch, open your body. That's what yoga was. But I learned it's so much more than that. So yoga is like this tree, and one of the branches of the tree is that physical practice. And then you have 7 other branches that talk about lifestyle, mindset, interaction with others, interaction with yourself, thoughts, thinking, and it kind of just embodies this practice to really get the most out of life and to really, you know, fulfill each day to the max.
It's a teaching, huh?
It's a teaching. It's definitely a teaching. Yeah.
one of the places I used to go get massages. This guy, I think he was South African.
Yeah.
But he's got South African Indian, but his you know, wife practices yoga and stuff, and he's kind of, you know, practices yoga, but he gave me a book once, and he was like, it was teachings, like yoga teachings.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a little book.
The sutras?
I don't know what it was. It's in my bag, actually. I'll get it for you. But he just goes, he just told me, he just goes, read this. Like, he goes, you don't need to do yoga. Just like read this. This will teach you anything about yoga. Yeah. So I was like, and it was the first time someone ever, but like, you know, I was talking about it at the time, so like, you know, chatting to him and stuff, so he knew I had interest.
Planting the seed.
He knew I had interest, and then he just gave me this book, and it was just it's more about, you know, the way of life, and you know, more the teachings, and you know, more deeper than just the stretching, like you said, stretching and the, you know,
and it opens up a whole new world of opportunity. Like,
I think practicing it with the right frame of mind or a better understanding changes the whole experience as well, you know. So I think that's just as important, just the teaching and whatnot, because I think your actual experience of doing whatever form it is, I think it ends up setting you up for a better experience, and even just, you know, being able to kind of self-reflect, you know, just change. I think it'll be much better in the long run. But
definitely.
So like, how's it? You spoke a bit about like all the different locations now. You know, you're traveling in Sydney now doing it. So how's that experience like? Just go from probably Bondi to Richmond to everywhere. So how was like? Did it kind of grow just off the back of people telling their friends and a bit of, obviously, you know, just online, I would assume, but did it expand to what it has just through people?
I'd say mainly through people.
Word of mouth and stuff.
So it started off, I taught at my friend's community group. He was teaching yoga at the time, and then doing fire spinning, we're teaching after and learning. And I started to teach Qi Gong prior to that, and it kind of coupled in. And then the more I did it, the more I was like, oh, this would be really cool. I was teaching it for free. You know, it wasn't something that I knew much about, and it's just something I wanted to share with others as just a way to connect with more people and to, you know, teach people more about their bodies, because I had learned so much through it. I was like, you guys need to know this. Like, you need to feel this. And so I started doing it, and then I was always thinking like, oh, can I make a living out of this? Like, can I, you know, teach people and, you know, get paid to do it as well? And I had the idea in my head, and I'd share this thought with others, like, oh, it'd be really cool to, you know, teach my classes and get, you know, paid for it. And people were like, well, you should do it. And I was like, yeah, I should. And then one day I just decided I'm going to take action. And then I did my first class. I did it at a friend's place, and people came, and they're like, yeah, let's do it again next week. And I was okay. And it just started to grow and grow. And I was like, you know what, like, I'm going to teach more. And I started to, so through word of mouth, I got requested to teach at certain yoga studios, different gyms, different locations, and I just took the opportunities. I said yes, and then I ended up teaching and expanding in different areas, and sharing my passion with a lot of other people to, you know, help them understand more about not only the practice but their bodies as well. And it just grew organically from that, you know, through word of mouth. Someone would ask, oh, would you like to teach a workshop at this gym or this studio? And then I'd always wanted to teach on the beach. I love the beach. I go to the beach every year for my birthday. And I was like, you know, why not do it then? You know, I had this idea, and it was always an idea. And then I was like, it's clicked, turn this idea into a reality. So I started to do weekly events at different beaches and, you know, work around Sydney. And it was just really nice to kind of explore the country I've always lived in, you know, and really connect with people from different areas and share it. And then, so at the moment I'm teaching in different places. I'm growing more of an online following. But, you know, being able to go to many different places, it keeps things interesting. I've always thought about having like a studio space. I haven't had one yet, so I can't really comment, but I do like the variety. It keeps things interesting.
I think you just got to throw one big like a retreat resort, man. Get everyone from everywhere to come down.
Funny you should say that. So stay tuned.
I was heading there. I was heading there. My question was heading there.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question. Is like, I'm sure you're thinking like, all these people were like, trying to get everyone together, that'd be something special, I'm sure there's something in the works, man.
It's in the works.
It's a natural progression,
Yeah.
But that's crazy, man. And because like sometimes, like especially after the few times that I'd come and practice with you, obviously, you sometimes you wonder why this isn't like some basic thing that everyone should do every morning, right? Like because like you look at life's problems or the way people go about things or their perspectives or how they deal with things and what they want to do, are they doing all these little life questions. And I just feel like it's not a matter of what's the right, it's having control over being able to have a perspective on all of them. Like that's what I felt like it gave me, was just a perspective, like being able to slow things down. That's what kind of martial arts did for me too, just slow things down so I can have control over my thoughts and what it is that I'm actually putting energy into thinking about it, because things are so fast. We're developing and everything's going at 100 kilometers per hour.
It's always like next.
Well,
what about
and then something that you can have a clear thought or a passage about could be what sets the foundation for something down the track, but you need time to think about it, and definitely. It's funny enough, it's easy to say it, but you realize not many people do. So it really bugs me sometimes to even think like how something like this can't be some of a norm for everybody, because I just feel like if you're firing on all cylinders, your capabilities and what you're capable, what your possibilities and what you can do it's almost not so much limitless, but you're thinking that this is your capability and you don't realize it's so much more higher, and it's all just because of repairing your body, giving your body what it needs, being able to learn how to breathe and kind of block everything out and just kind of really just go deep in about yourself, and it's all there, and it's just a matter of allowing yourself to go through that.
Definitely. I've found that through the practice myself and the practice of teaching others, that connection that you develop through the breath work, through the movement, is a stronger connection, between mind, body, but also between, you and your true self. So a lot of people, what I've noticed just through my own observations, being a personal trainer, you train people from all walks of life, from all different professions. And I've seen people doing so many things, so many, society's view of productive things and, successful things. But all of these doings are not really in alignment with, their true being. And I find that along the way, people begin to express their true being through certain aspects of what they do, but not all aspects. But when you are in alignment and you're being your true self and you're acting out of that place from your true self, everything you do is in alignment, and everything you do comes from that place of strong connection deep within. And I found that the practice of Qi Gong really connects you to your true self through that breath work, through that movement. You begin to feel who you are, deep down, and then that just radiates outwards. And then, like you said, you have that clarity, you have that perspective. This is what I enjoy doing. This is the path I want to walk. You notice the distractions, you notice the interference in your life. And when you're in that alignment, when you're in that flow, it's like crazy. It's crazy. You can't describe it.
You can't, and that's the thing.
You got to experience it. You can only feel it.
100%. You got to experience it. Like, I sound like a madman sometimes, man, when I say it, because I'm like, I don't think you realize. Like, I beg people. I beg them. I'm like, just trust me. Give it a month and you'll turn around and you'll be like, dude, this is the fucking greatest thing that I've done. Like, because you just don't realize like how much so many relevant things are holding you back, like whether it's guilt, whatever it is, it's just holding you back from you, like you say, your true potential. And your true potential doesn't have to be something marvelous, something that the world sees. No, it's like waking up every day, like, and you'll know the difference. You'll know that you're living your best life, as they say, what I mean? And that's not like, where you live or what you have or whatnot. It's just how you feel inside. And then you realize, holy shit, like so many things that I worried about. Fucking what was I worrying about?
Pointless.
And that's really like, that was a big thing that hit me, was like, fuck, I'm worried about so much like irrelevant shit right now. Like, that does not matter and affect what what's possible for me to do. You know what I mean? It's not the end result. It's like being able to actually take that step and be like, man, like, I'm capable of doing these things, instead of kind of buckling and being in a hole and feeling like, no, there's too many things that are stopping me from doing it, obstacles and all these things, you know, and we forget it's in us, and it just becomes like a infectious routine for people, you know, and yeah, man, it's just crazy because like you said, like you can't explain it to anybody, but when you do it, you realize, man, like this is something I would invest in myself to have every day of my life, because even if you have a bad day, like it's funny, like when I was working corporate, and on my last day, like when I was leaving, and like my boss gave, obviously, they give you a speech or whatever, but he's only known me for like 5 months, or 6 months, but he's known me probably in the best state that I've been in physically, like strength, like I was training for a fight and I was doing Qi Gong. So it was like November last year, December, going, and November maybe, something like that, or to May of this year. And somewhere, I think it was maybe February, I started, I got introduced to you, and I started practicing Qi Gong. But man, like I forget, like the job, like he was stressed, fucking, like we were getting pumped. And it was like that's when I was practicing. Like I was telling you, every time I got anxious or work got a big thing, I walked away from my screen and kind of just listened to my breathing, and then just went back. And then it was like, okay, let's just keep going back. Just keep going, kind of thing. And it's almost like it's almost like a pride thing you need to put aside. Like, yeah, man, I need this because I'm getting anxious, or I'm getting some anxiety because there's so much going on. Like, you got to tell yourself it's okay to walk away and do this and come back. There's nothing hard about you sitting there and fighting through the chaos in your head, and like that's how you get to 4 p.m. like, fuck this, at a long, you know what I mean? So and then I lost my train of thought. So Feb, yes, I started doing Feb, and so he was giving a speech, and he was just like, the funny thing about me, he's talking about me, like, he goes, Jana, is that I would go up to him and I would dump this on him, and he would just smile, and he'd be like, okay. And I thought to myself, here I am stressing. He's a great boss, great guy, like understood me, and what he described me is someone who's known me for years. He described that in 4 months of just me working underneath him. But it was funny because it was talking about me, how I'm just like, I had days where I was like, man, fuck this, what am I doing? Like all my thoughts, like similar to you, all my thoughts are outside those 4 walls, like of what I want to do and what I want to kind of try to do with my life. But anyway, so he was giving that speech, and then he was like, he's always he was always smiling, didn't even look stressed, and I was wondering. Then I found out he had a boxing fight. He doesn't look like a boxer because he's always smiling, and his energy was always high and whatever. And it didn't occur to me that that's the perception I was putting out to him. But I realize now, like having those elements in meditation and all these things just allowed me to kind of deal with the chaos of the corporate world and work and what's important, and the whole time then I was like, I'm only going to do what I'm capable of doing. Doesn't mean it's less than what it's just I've got to do what I'm capable of doing. Some things are out of my control, and those thoughts, understanding those thoughts, come from having a really good reflection of yourself and allowing yourself to recover, be able to kind of have that space where you have time to think and have some clarity. I think that was a lot to do with how I kind of worked as well, and how the perception I put in the idea of, fuck, I got work coming, but then it's like, fuck, I have work, it's gonna be a shit day, or fuck, I work, I go one at just chip at it, one step at a time, kind of thing. And those difference in those thoughts came from just being able to have that platform to kind of release the stress and the pressure, and have some clarity and perspective, and kind of the whole process of the breathing and whatnot. So like I feel like that's what I mean, like it doesn't mean that you're gonna go and end up kind of doing something celebrity like. You could still be going day-to-day work, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but I'm sure that's the kind of clients you have, or people that come. And it still helps them get through the day. It helps them get through the day and not feel like 9 to 5. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be just for people that are trying to find their own path and thing. It's just good for you to go through it and have it every day. Just to feel, so that at least your day is better. I feel like your day will be better, and how you go about your day will be different as well. So it's not just about journeyman trying to kind of, you know what I mean? Although that's what happened, to me, and I'm sure other people that have come, you know, but it's, yeah, man, it flicks a few switches on, man. It's hard to explain, but it flicks a lot of switches on, you know, more about yourself than anything. But, you know, I think everything you're doing, that's what I tell people, like I felt like everything you're doing, or all your possibilities, you tend to look out there, but it's really in here. Like, you can see things you want to see if you allow yourself to see it, as crazy and high level and, you know, work as it sounds, you know what I mean?
Perspective.
But yeah, but it's really, it's just perspective, you know. Definitely. It's like, yeah, so man, I appreciate you coming through, man. Like, I'm sure I hope more people at least give you a look and, you know, make up their minds for themselves, and you know, and I know, like, I know they'll love it. I have no doubt in my mind about it. You know, I know they'll love it. It's just a matter of taking the steps and checking it out. But I'll be sure to obviously share your page and stuff, man. And I'm sure I'll be following you. And you know, if I can support you in any way, I will. You know, and hopefully 2020, I'll get my ass to more of these sessions as well near the beach. Hopefully, so that'll be nice. But man, I wish you all the best. And I think what you're doing is awesome. And I hope not just for something to do for people, but it's applied to life. And I hope that it gets to the level that people get to kind of appreciate it for more than just, I'm going to do yoga or I'm going to relax. It's more like, this is life, you know, I need this to operate.
It's reminded me of a quote, you know, like when people leave feeling a lot clearer in their head after class. I remember reading this quote and it said, it's not so much what you do, but how you feel when you're doing it. 100%. And as long as you have that as like the premise for, you know, going forth and taking action onto, you know, reaching your goals or your dreams or desires, whatever, then everything else fades away. And you're in that state, and then that state reflects out, and you're in the zone.
Like, that's all this, like what we're doing right now is off the back of all that. And like, that's what I mean. It's funny because someone asked me about a month or two after I left, and it's not to say that I find something else, but this is something that's like you lose sleep over. Just these ideas that I have and creativity that I want to do and explore. It was just the satisfaction of that idea, that creativity that you want to do, and then doing it and then being able to see it. That's something that, like, it's not about money, it's not, you know, those things come, but it's just that satisfaction. And he asked me, like, how are you in the mornings? I said, man, like, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, you're always thinking, man, like, this is where I want to take it to and whatnot. So you always have that, the stresses and the things you're trying to think long term.
It's like a paradox.
But I get up like hungry, like let's go, like, you know, like even when I do a podcast and then once it's done, my day is just different. You know what I mean? Like, it's just different. I feel different. I feel like I accomplished something that I genuinely wanted to accomplish. But it's all in perspective. Are you putting in the perspective of what it is to everyone else or to you? When you do it to you, you're like, man, I'm dancing on cloud nine. You know what I mean?
It's almost as if I like to view it as you have these experiences which create this feeling within you, and that feeling is like your inner self or your soul's compass to guiding you, you know, to the next step or to the next experience that's going to deliver you that sensation or that satisfaction, that rewarding feeling. And it's like, just keep chasing that feeling.
There's levels, man. You definitely flicked a lot of switches on for me.
Thanks,
but man, like I said, man, I wish you the best, and I hope it keeps growing. And I know that, you know, I want it to be a part of my life, you know, and I'm obviously going to try to. And I hope, man, like, if I can help in any way, obviously I'll let people know, and I'll put the details on the post and whatnot.
That'd be awesome.
And man, I hope they check it out, man. I hope they get to experience what I got to experience, and everyone else that's, you know, come through it. And I'm sure it's gonna grow, and it's just scratching the surface, man.
Definitely.
Like I said, if you're doing the resort thing, man. If you're doing the resort stuff, you gotta make sure you let me know about that.
Stay tuned for 2020.
2020. That's it. And we'll sit down again soon, man. You know, I enjoy the chats, and I'm sure next time we talk there'll be so much more that you've learned.
Deeper down the road.
That's it, man. Appreciate it, man. Thank